What is going on? We're here. We're live for the Untitled Political Stream. And holy shit, we got a couple things to talk about today. Lori Lightfoot has lost. Somehow, Lori Lightfoot, despite being elected as the mayor of Chicago and utterly destroying Chicago, she's claiming that it's racism and sexism about how she was treated. Somehow the person that got elected is saying that because she was not elected anymore, it has something to do with racism and sexism. I don't know how that works. So we've decided to get a panel together, a black man, Suresh, to explain this, and a woman in Jeremy to explain why this is racist and sexist. Jeremy, how you doing?
That was good, man. That was good. Doing good, man. Untitled. That's what it needs to be. Untitled. That's the political stream for now. We'll figure out the rest. We're not good at naming things around here. We let the chat help us out with that usually. So shout out to all of you. But yeah, I mean, it's there's a lot to talk about. Beetlejuice is no more. There's a lot of memes thanks to Benny Johnson and others out there with Lori Lightfoot. But yeah, what a complete and total disaster Chicago has become. And now she's jobless. It's jobless. He's jobless. I don't know what the fuck that thing is, but happy that we get to meme it to hell and back.
Yeah, we're definitely going to talk about that a little bit. Suresh from The Situation with Suresh. 221 Be Tactical. How you doing, man?
Oh, doing great. I got to tell you, the Lightfoot news came to was just taken so well by so many people in Chicago, because I know a ton of people in Chicago. They're just sick of the crime. They're sick of the city falling apart. They want their city back. I had one of my friends. He's one of the most liberal, insane Democrats that I know, but I've known him for years, and he too was happy about that. So that goes to show you the level. And I think it's a sign for something, and we'll talk about. We'll get into that later for what's going on in the country. But yeah, man, it's been crazy over at 221B Tactical and over at The Situation with Suresh. And just once again, happy to be here on the Untitled, Unnamed show this week.
Right. Yeah. Look at this one. We're coming in hot with the memes. Look at this. The Right to Bear memes. Look at this. Holy shit.
Oh, yeah. Get ready.
That is nightmare fuel right there. Oh, my God. Holy crap.
Oh, yeah. That's so amazing.
Wow.
We may as well just get it started with this entire thing. Lori Lightfoot is done. Lori Lightfoot, after destroying the city of Chicago, not that it was in great shape to begin with, but between the COVID lockdowns and the crime and everything that has happened, the embarrassment that she and Chicago have become over the last several years, people in Chicago have had enough. Now, that certainly doesn't mean they're going to elect a Republican. That's not happening. The two remaining candidates are Democrats, but one of the first people eliminated was Lori Lightfoot. She has officially lost her re-election campaign, and she's saying that she was treated unfairly because of her race and her gender. Lightfoot faced 8 challengers and finished Tuesday night's election in 3rd place, failing to get enough support to continue into a runoff election. Reporters pressed her on whether she believed she was treated unfairly during the campaign process. "I'm a black woman in America. Of course," she responded, according to reports. Now, Lori Lightfoot, definitely black. Woman is a little bit questionable, okay? Everybody is roasting this person right now. There is not a single person in the world that doesn't think it's hilarious that she has just gotten completely and utterly destroyed. This is someone who locked down the entire city of Chicago over COVID, except when she wanted to go get a haircut. This is someone who pushed the jab constantly, who offered, what was that, $30 or something, all laid out on the floor in $5 bills if you go get vaxxed. This is somebody who made Chicago even more of an embarrassment than it was already.
Go back up to the one above.
Yeah, dancing. She was dancing around. She did a rap video. But I mean, hey, the people of Chicago, you might not be sane there still, but at least you got rid of this woman. What's your take on this, Jeremy?
No, man. I mean, while we're all laughing about it all, I mean, Chicago, every time something happens with a police brutality situation and the mainstream picks up on it, they talk about how important black lives are. And then You hear everyone.
Oh my
Oh, that one's bad. That was.
Oh my
I
God!
love
Who
it.
did
I
that?
love
Who did
it. But you hear people,
Oh my
talk
God.
about the crime statistics, and I mean, it's always like every weekend, it's just something else. There's usually a child involved in some of the violence as well, and that's never anything that's ever being discussed. What was it? What didn't Lori Lightfoot make a comment like a few months ago talking about like the crime and how people should just there was some like be nicer. I don't know what she was. She basically blamed victims in some way, shape, or form to all of the violence going on. So this is a no-brainer, but I think Ryan made the bigger point where it's still you're still voting in like Democrats. You know what I mean? So it's like it's not really going to cure things that much. But this has been one of the biggest disasters we've seen in a long time. And again, those crime statistics are always quoted every weekend. I follow Breaking 911. Every weekend they have the update for
37
Chicago.
people shot.
Yeah,
8
every
dead.
weekend. Every
Mhm.
weekend there's just statistics that are reported. And you're like, what the hell, man?
I think really they should think about, banning guns in Chicago. I think if they had strict gun laws in Chicago, that probably wouldn't happen, right?
Yeah. There it is. Liam said it. She said, "Stop carrying cash around." That's what she
Yeah.
said. That was her
Yeah.
response. Hey,
Yeah.
stop carrying cash, and the criminals won't shoot you and rob you. What? That is the type of leadership that she
But they
was
still
putting
do.
out there, and they
But
still
they
do.
still shoot you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, Suresh, you said you've got some people there, some friends. So I mean, what are you hearing?
Well, not only do I have friends that live in the city, but I know quite a few officers on the force there. And to hear from them what's actually happening in the city and what they're seeing on a daily and nightly basis, it's actually alarming that it's not a major news story. But we know why it's not a major news story, because if they put what was actually happening in Chicago on the national news, it would just be it would blow up. Like people would be in disbelief of how many, and you said it, Jeremy, how many children are being shot in that city every week and every weekend. That alone would be alarming and would alarm the whole nation, but they don't show it. There are teenagers being executed in the middle of the street in Chicago. That is a fact. My friends who are officers and that live there have told me that. And these are stories that we are not hearing at all on any news network. There's a little blip on the local news network. Oh, another shooting on something or in this ward, but that's all you hear. Lori Lightfoot has gotten to the point where we're in the country, right? Like Joe Biden trying to let everyone know during the State of the Union that everything is fine. The problems that you are seeing are not really problems. They're right-wing talking points. It's not really happening. She literally, when a reporter provided her with the crime statistics from her own police department, said, "That's not true. Crime is down." And the guy was like, "But I just told you the numbers from your own Department of Justice. Crime is not down. Crime is up. Violent crime is up." And she's like, "It's just simply not true." And everyone's looking at each other in the room like, how do you say this? It's kind of like Joe Biden saying the economy's fine, stock market's fine. No, it's not. Inflation's at a 40-year high, and gas prices are still 40% higher than they were when you took up. It's all fine. It's all fine. That's all Donald Trump's fault, but it's all fine. So the other thing, which is even more disgusting, and here we see, you were elected as a Black woman. You were elected by the people. And now, because you did a horrific job, you are being fired, essentially. And now you're blaming it on your race and gender. How pathetic is that? What does that, and I always say this, what message does that send to young Black children in this country? Do a good job, work hard, get to a position. And if you fail in that position and they try to boot you, just turn around and blame it on your race or your gender. Or I believe she's also a lesbian, right? I believe she she's married to a woman.
Have you seen her?
So,
yes.
Yeah, I mean, like, so I'm surprised she didn't throw that out there. I'm surprised she didn't throw out that, oh, it's because I'm a woman, I'm a lesbian, and I'm black. Like, it is so disgusting to see the angle. How about you just have some pride and say, you know what? I fought a good fight. I lost the race. Okay, I'm upset. I feel like I should have won. But okay, the people have spoken. Fine. Okay, so be it. Right now, it's this. Is that how we're going to be now for every time someone loses? Because you guys know they're already preparing the narrative. If Joe Biden loses, which he won't, that he was not voted in for a second term because of ageism and ableism.
Yes.
That's already coming.
Yeah.
They're already CNN, MSNBC. They're already prepping that narrative.
This is my favorite. This is my favorite one right here. This is my favorite meme because it's not even a meme as much as it's just a side by side. Like that is awful.
The way that she dresses sometimes is insane. Like there is just no. The fact that Chicago elected this person to begin with should mean that there should be nobody that ever cast a vote for Lori Lightfoot. They should have their voting privileges stripped from them. Like you should never be able to vote in a presidential election ever. You need to surrender like all of your rights. Just submit yourself to the court because that's embarrassing.
This is so bad. But like to Suresh's point, like look what we saw in St. Louis just the other day with that guy shooting that homeless guy. And it's like, if that's not on video, we don't even know about it. You know what I mean?
Did that look like a gang, like killing somebody to join a gang or something to you, Suresh? I don't know if you saw that clip that was out there.
I saw that clip. I think it was really just someone mentally ill. I didn't view that as some kind of like gang initiation or anything like that. I've seen those killings and I've seen the videos of those killings. This just seemed like someone mentally ill. And, another thing they're not addressing is the mental illness. We're not privy to all of the attacks by homeless people on regular, homed civilians, and the attacks on homeless going on in places like LA, San Francisco, Baltimore. There is so much violence coming out of the homeless community and within the homeless community that no one is talking about at all. Why? Because it doesn't fit any kind of narrative. It doesn't have anything to do with the climate. It doesn't have anything to do with any liberal talking points. So they don't talk about it. But it is a major problem. And of course, we know it's all stemming from drug use, mental illness, and other things. And it's a major issue in a lot of these cities. Like if you're paying $40,000, and my one friend in California, $40,000 a year in taxes. And there are certain areas he cannot walk through with his family because you will get attacked by a mentally ill homeless person. 100%. It's not even like it might happen. So can you imagine paying $40,000 a year in taxes and you can't even walk around your own neighborhood?
Exactly. And that's the whole thing. Like taxes are meant to actually help improve our situation, and that's not what's happening at all. But yeah, I mean, like, I think Eric K said something about there's a story about like how many children were killed in Chicago, and it's just like, my gosh, man, and no one's talking about it. And you know why? Because there's not a political narrative that can be built around it. And that's what I continue to say. Your race, your gender, your sexual orientation is only as good as the narrative that the left can build around it. And if there's no narrative to be built around your life or anything applying to your life, then it just doesn't matter. And I said
it's interesting how these mass shootings and everything that the media likes to hype, specifically when it involves somewhat of a certain race, like all the gang violence, everything that happens in Chicago and St. Louis and all these cities, Baltimore, that's ignored. Those aren't counted as mass shootings. But when somebody has a problem, they have like a mental breakdown at work or something, they have a fucking problem, they come in there, want to fucking give somebody payback because their life's fucked up, and they shoot a couple people at their place of work. That all of a sudden, that's the only thing that counts as a mass shooting. That's why we need to ban guns. Mm-hmm. It's pretty clear to see.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's just, what I was gonna say though is like I think it was a few weeks ago, and I talked about when I was out in California years ago, there was a story about this guy putting razor blades in the sand at a playground, and it was a local story, and I'm like, How is that not a national fucking story right now? That's terrifying. Parents should be knowing about this. And I think like some kids got hurt or something like that. And it's just like, that's psychopathic behavior. I can't believe that's not front page news. No, you know what front page news is? Donald Trump's latest mean tweet and something like that, so it's just crazy.
Jeremy, and I could say this because I know if you guys say this, it would get roasted. You guys know and see this, and I see it, and it's disgusting. Where was that recent college campus shooting?
Michigan State.
Was it Michigan State? It was literally on every news headline when the shooting occurred. It was all over the place, every ticker, every news channel, every network. The second they found out that the shooter was black, that story disappeared. It disappeared. Now, if that shooter was white, and God forbid they found like a sentence
MAGA hat
from 15 years ago of him like saying Donald Trump is even remotely a decent human being, they would have been right-wing Trump supporter, MAGA crazy, goes on shooting spree and what have you. What was even funnier is not only did the story kind of disappear because the shooter was black, they didn't even go the gun angle even disappeared. For like 1 minute, They talked about gun control, but then it was like, the guy's black. We got to get away from it. And literally within 24 hours, that story disappeared. It is so disgusting. And if I was the parents of some of the people that were injured or killed in that event, I would be like, why are we not talking about this like we talk about the other things? We all know why.
Yeah, this is what they always say only white people do, right? Only white people who are like, what was this guy, like 35 or something years old? He didn't even attend Michigan State. He literally just went there to kill people. Had a felony, shouldn't have owned a gun, but somehow had a gun, right? Like all of this stuff, media drops it completely. It's embarrassing. And that's like, there are real racial divisions in this country right now, specifically because the media treats things that way. We see the things that they push and we see the things that disappear. And so much of it is racially biased.
And you see what happened. And this is something that I don't know if people noticed, but we all know that Don Lemon was recently, spanked by CNN for his comment about Nikki Haley's age. And a lot of people were like, wow, that was kind of like harsh that they went after him like that. And they kind of pushed him out. Oh, you got to go through retraining, whatever. And people were a little confused because he just said, oh, Nikki Haley's she's 50s. She's in her 50s. She's out of her prime. She shouldn't be running for president. She can't be running for office. Well, the reason why it was such a big deal that he said that is because they have a guy who, when he begins his second term, should he win, is going to be, 82 or 84 years old? So that's exactly why they went after Don like that, because they were like, hey, man, you can't say, 50 is too old to run the country, because the guy who we're trying to push through for another term is going to be 90. So that's why they jumped on him, and no one noticed that.
Yeah, that's true.
And for the record, you aren't even allowed to run until, for women, they're already past their prime, 35 years old. So, I mean, hey, what are you going to do? Them's the rules, Don. Sorry.
Well, it's true because Don is higher on the Oppression Olympics scale than just your average white woman, because he's a gay black man. So by the scale of Oppression Olympics, he's definitely higher on the food chain. So that definitely would be something where it's like, wait, bro, you can't, you as a gay black man can call out her, but not when we're pushing Grandpa Joe. You're hurting the overall message there. So the Oppression Olympics has a lot of different angles that you have to worry about.
Yeah, it's so slanted. It's disgusting.
Let's hit a couple of these super chats. Gerald Armstrong for 5. What a relief that a white boy is in charge. We're going to talk about Biden's comments. Yes, Joe Biden loves black people is in the title. Speaking of people who love black people, Bert for $2. Happy the Batman car review day, Ryan. Thank you. It is. It's 1 year since I reviewed the Batman in my car.
It went super viral on Twitter.
Even Suresh knew about it. So.
Yeah.
Even I knew about it. I found out about it real fast.
That's right. Because he just Googled my name and it came up.
You were like, you're friends with that guy?
To be
I'm
fair,
like, yeah, he's coming over for dinner. We're grilling.
to be fair, Ryan knew what he was doing. He was really upset that the first review, the first result on Google was Krista's Ryan is a hairless cat article on geeksandgamers.com. So he's like, I need better optics. So let me do the Batman review so I can get that as the first result on Google.
It's been a while since I looked.
How far down is that article now?
It should be further down. It should be further down.
Yeah, I don't really see anything bad. It's like all my shit. Oh no. Well, down way near the bottom, it's like a Ryan Kinel TikTok search. Lot of people don't like me on TikTok. A lot of people don't like me.
It's
But other
not
than that,
surprising.
I think it's pretty good.
It's not surprising.
So hey, we're all good. We've changed it. Changed the algorithm. Hayden for 20. What's up, Hayden? Pim Tool was talking about how the voting in Chicago may have actually broken down by race. When you compare the voting map and racial breakdown of the wards in the city, it does look that way. I would argue that will literally be what you see in almost every single election. I guarantee if you looked at the breakdown of the Biden-Trump election in Chicago, it's probably similar. This is what Tim was talking about. If you take the Chicago election map and place it over a racial demographics map, what you get is probably unsurprising. Black neighborhoods voted for Lightfoot. Hispanic neighborhoods voted Garcia. White neighborhoods voted Vallis and Johnson. To be clear, Brandon Johnson, if you couldn't tell by the name Brandon Johnson, is also a black guy. So, she was in a race against another black person, somehow saying that she was being unfairly treated. But yeah, you can look at the results right there, and you can see.
You got a little bit of echo, Ryan.
I think it might be coming from Suresh. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't think it's me.
Yeah.
Because it's like when I'm talking, I hear it. So
It's
I don't
gone
know.
now. It's gone now.
But there you go. These are the breakdowns of this is the black neighborhoods. These are the Hispanic neighborhoods. This is the white neighborhoods. And it pretty much looks exactly like that when it all plays out.
Why would you vote for Lori Lightfoot in any again, it's people that, they're just not even going to do the research. You know what I mean? About it's unbelievable that anybody would vote for that psychopath.
For sure.
Whatever.
Bert for 2. Chirac, anyone? Gang violence is very problematic. It is indeed. It is indeed. Gabriel Knight for 10. We're voting for a second term for Grandpa Simpson if things continue the way they are. Re-electing Ronald McRomney as GOP chair was strike one, and I'm hearing nothing about GOP early voting and mail-in strategy. I think I actually heard Trump say something to the effect of we have to not about early voting, but specifically about canvassing, or not canvassing, ballot harvesting. I think I saw a headline like that, but it wasn't very big. So I kind of agree with you in principle. Haas Bonaventures for $5. Thoughts on Scott Adams' comments on the poll, "It's okay to be white." 47% of black people don't agree with the phrase, "It's okay to be white." Are there black people that will never like white people? Yes. Scott Adams did go pretty viral over that. He got Dilbert canceled because of that. So.
I have never liked Scott Adams until he made those comments. No, I'm kidding. I've never liked Scott Adams. I don't like him. I always think he's cringe. I have no clue why he has a following whatsoever, but whatever. In terms of the comments he made, I understand the points he's trying to make. And I watched Officer Brandon Tatum break this down, and he showed some clips of black guys from the hood that was basically saying the same exact thing as Scott Adams. But of course, that was okay, but it's not okay for Scott Adams to say it. I think he was definitely, he didn't hold back. And the dude has like 5,000 paid subscribers on Locals. So clearly he ain't worried about getting canceled. You know what I mean? And so I think that we live in this time. You're proving his point by being fake offended over what he says, but we weren't offended when a black guy said literally the same thing. Yes, he was brutal in what he said, but if you can find other black people that have said it and that didn't offend you, then what's the point? So again, as a person that's not a fan of him at all, I see what he's saying for sure.
It's out there. We've all seen it, and there's always this double standard. We've seen black people say the same exact thing, almost verbatim, as Donald Trump, and Trump is called a racist, and the black person, or a bigot, whatever, and the black person, no one says anything about. We saw it with Black Lives Matter. We had a young black man shot by a white police officer. And the one situation I'm thinking about was a white female police officer, and Black Lives Matter was all over it. Oh, he was unarmed, all that. Okay, great. And literally 3 days later, another young black man, unarmed, was shot by a black female police officer. That happened in Texas. And not a word. Not a word. No one even knew about it. No one even knew about it. Why? It's fake outrage, and it's disgusting because it's so clear. It's in your face. If this happens over here and it's a white person, we got to rage and make a big deal out of it. The same thing is said or done by a black person, and it doesn't even matter. That guy's life didn't matter. Don't worry about it. He didn't matter. We don't even need to say his name. We don't need to put his name on a jersey or anything. It's like they think we don't see these things, and we see it. And I wish more people who are in this like woke bucket would wake up, and when you ask them that, I've asked people this live, and they don't know what to say. They have no idea what to say. I'll give them the name of a well-known young black man that was killed by the police, and they'll be like, oh yeah, I know that story that happened in St. Louis. Okay, and what about this one? What do you think about this story? And they're like, oh, I never heard of that. I'm like, oh, he was an unarmed black man killed by a police officer. No, I'm not familiar with that story. I never heard that name. Right, because he was killed by a black police officer. That's why you never heard that name. Unarmed.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't know what to say.
Or Tony
They don't know what to
Timpa.
say.
Are you familiar with the Tony Timpa story? The guy in Texas that was brutally beat, the white guy that was brutally beaten by police. It's one of the worst stories on record. Never heard about it because it was a white guy. Tony Timpa was a white guy, so nobody fucking cares. Or and that's just you're being lied to consistently by the media. You're being consistently lied to by fake activists that pretend to care about a story that they really don't care about, but they are trained and programmed to care about it. And it's just insane, man.
Yeah, I think that everybody, I think at this point, is afraid to sometimes talk about reality. And the reality is that people interact with people in general, not specifically, but people interact with people who they're comfortable with. You're talking about from a socioeconomic status, from a racial status, from a belief system status, everything. Like, it's a very natural human thing to do so. There's nothing like inherently wrong with it. We just pulled up these neighborhoods in Chicago, right? Like, look at these neighborhoods in Chicago and how they're broken down. This is where all the white people live. This is where all the Hispanic people live. This is where all the black people live. This is not some like engineered thing. In fact, big cities have been doing everything they can to integrate everyone everywhere. Like, that's actively what they're trying to do. And it still naturally doesn't work out because, human beings just behave a certain way. That doesn't mean that they hate people. That doesn't mean they're fucking racist. It doesn't mean anything. It just means you're interacting with people you're comfortable with, cultures you're comfortable with, people that are on the same level as you socioeconomically. And the idea of like pointing that out and pointing out some of the problems with not acknowledging that can be dangerous. And we've seen that play out. And I think that Scott Adams, probably went about it in a stupid way. Inherently, I don't really have any problem with what he fucking said. Doesn't mean I agree wholeheartedly with it or anything. And I think Scott Adams is very oblivious to some fucking things. Like the fact that this dude was railing against the jab, was totally in support of the jab and railing against anyone who questioned anything for like 2 years. And then all of a sudden, when reality hits him in the face and he asked the question, I just need to know how these people knew. How did all these anti-vax people know? It seemed like they knew this the entire time. It's like, yeah, no shit, Scott Adams. Like, fucking wake up. But yeah, so I'm not a big Scott Adams guy, but inherently I don't have any problem with what he said.
One of the things that's funny, and Ryan, to your point, that is not really spoken about, and once again, it's difficult for guys that look like you to say, but this is a reality. And I was talking about my friend who is my friends who are Democrats that live in Chicago. or in the outskirts. Not everyone lives in Chicago proper, but two of my friends that live there, both black, both had businesses, started doing well, started doing better, started doing better, started doing better. They're both doing extremely well over the last few years. One's in real estate, one does something else, product related. What do you think the first thing they did when their businesses grew and they got a certain level of wealth? What do you think they both did? They moved out of the black neighborhoods and they moved to all white neighborhoods because they wanted better school. They wanted more safety. They wanted less gang violence. They cared about their children. They didn't want their children to get caught up with gangs. They wanted their children to have better teachers in the school. So what did they do? On that map, they went from the black area and they moved, right? They bought a home, and they could have bought a little bit of a nicer place in the black neighborhood, but no, they didn't. They just moved completely away from the black people, and they moved to the white neighborhood where it's safe and they feel safe for their children. They feel better about their children's school. They feel better about their neighborhood, and they're going to all these functions in their neighborhood now, and they feel very at ease because they can walk around without being shot or mugged or anything like that. They park their car in their driveway, and they're not afraid that they're going to wake up in the morning and it's going to be freaking gone. So that is what. So a lot of people are like, it's funny. Michelle Obama talked about like the white flight. Oh, black people move into the neighborhood and like white people. Let me tell you something. I know a lot of black people who the second they could left where they grew up, left those dangerous neighborhoods that were crime ridden, Democrat run areas that were being run to the ground. And where did they move? Where did they move? We all know where they moved. They moved into like some wealthy gated white community. And why? Because it's about survival. This is about survival. This has nothing to do with skin color. Listen, if you got money and you want to survive, you're going to go to where you're going to survive. You're not going to be like, well, I'm rich. I got all this money now. I'm going to stay in this horrible neighborhood where there's gunshots every night. People are getting executed in the street because, I'm black, so I got to stay in the black neighborhood. No, that doesn't happen. They leave and they go to the white neighborhoods that are safe.
Yep. And to that point, I got a video. I know, Ryan, you had something to say first.
I just want to say, and I also think when you look at the poll itself, I don't believe that 47% of black people in this country think that like just despise white people, right? I don't think that. No. What I do think is that in a poll, 47% of black people in this country could have been gaslit into believing that the phrase "it's okay to be white," that there's something fucking wrong with that means they somehow hate black people. Because that's what the media has been doing. That's what the media has been trying to do. So I think you got to look at the perspective of that poll as well and realize where that's coming from.
So this is Brandon Tatum. Shout out to Brandon Tatum. Me and Ryan's been on this show before. I've been watching for years, but he's already reacted to the Scott Adams video. So then he plays this next video.
A black man in America. I agree with what he's saying. Let me just give you an example of another black man saying exactly what Scott Adams said. Don't believe me. Listen to a brother from the hood. And I know that Charleston is from the same hood that I grew up in. And I didn't grow up only in the hood. My daddy and my mom and them helped us to make different decisions. But I know what it's like to be in the hood. My cousin lived in the hood. We used to go over their house, and we know. Listen, when you grow up in that environment, you know what it is. I went to Paul Laurence Dunbar High School, right in Stop 6. I know what it is. All right, let me watch the black man say exactly what Scott said.
So they go buy them a house in the white folk neighborhood. Who want to live a bunch of and you got this kind of money? Please. Who want to live a bunch with this kind of money? I'm trying to get to the white folks neighborhood. We all live. Y'all didn't get mad at Snoop Dogg. He live around white folk. Y'all ain't mad about Jay-Z and Beyonce. He got some money went all around white folk. So they just being hypocritical. I mean, we all want to get us some money and go live around white folk. At least I know I do. I want to live with white folk and go outside and see them white women walking them dogs with them pools in the backyard, and I ain't got to worry about them causing no problem, shooting up. We want the kids to have a better life with our black people. We want, homie.
Now,
so there you go. So that's essentially what Scott Adams said.
Yep. And I heard what Scott Adams said, but I never saw that gentleman say that. It's exactly what I just said. It's the truth. And it just, you know what? Listen, it's uncomfortable maybe for some people to like hear the truth these days. And now it seems like lies are not offensive, but the truth is offensive these days. But that is the reality, and nobody can deny it. Look at where LeBron lives. Look at where Michael Jordan lives. Look at where Jay-Z lives.
Look at the Steph Curry story.
Kevin
What was
Hart
the Steph
lives.
Curry story?
Look at
Steph
where
Curry
Dave
shut
Chappelle
down.
lives. Look at
Yeah.
where all these people. Look at where Barack Obama lives.
Look where the Black Lives Matter founder lives.
Look where she bought a house. Look where she
Yes.
bought her 4 houses. She didn't buy any houses in the hood. She bought all 4 of her mansions in white gated neighborhoods.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like this is like fake offended, like going to another level.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
Mav Dick for 2 just started Sons of Anarchy. Jeremy, who or what is Sam Crow?
Sam Crow, Sons of Anarchy Motorcycle Club Redwood Original. That's the mainline charter for Sons of Anarchy. They spell it like they say it, they write it out one way and they spell it another way. But yeah, so Sons of Anarchy Motorcycle Club Redwood Original, one of the greatest television series ever. So I hope you enjoy it. Love Sons of Anarchy.
G-Man for 2, safe neighborhoods are white supremacy. But listen, there is a man who's in the White House right now that loves black people. Okay. And if you didn't vote for him, you're probably not black yourself.
You ain't black.
Joe Biden went a little bit viral for some of his comments. Surprise, surprise. Joe Biden slammed over white boy remark during event marking Black History Month. Most racist president since LBJ. I don't know if you saw this, Suresh. This is Joe going off script as he usually does. Very inclusive that they had a black woman doing sign language. So here we go.
I may be a white boy, but I'm not stupid. I know where the power is. I know where you think I'm joking. I learned a long time ago about the.
Wow.
I may be a white boy, but I ain't stupid.
Jesus.
Wow.
Just another
almost
Joe Biden moment.
Every day.
Wow.
I don't think he's ever fully reached the level of the hairy legs comment, but every day he competes, he gets closer and closer to it.
Well,
The hairy legs comment's the worst thing. That's the worst thing he's ever said. Little black
Listen.
kids rubbing his hairy legs under the pool. Like, oh my God.
No, the one that tops it for me was when he said black kids. Or what did he say?
I love kids. I
are-
love black kids jumping on my lap.
No,
That was the
no. He
same one?
said,
Oh, okay.
no, I'm sorry. He said, poor kids are just as smart
as white kids.
right, as white kids.
Yes.
God.
And I was like, if that's not the most racist shit any president has ever said,
I know.
and poor kids are just as bright, just as smart as white kids. Wait, I was like, what in the world is it? I mean, forget about like that. It all started, and it is the epitome of his thought on black people. So I love the people who say, "Oh, he's not." Remember when he said Barack Obama was the first mainstream, clean, and well-spoken African American. I
First one in
almost
history.
died when I heard him say that. He said clean and well-spoken. I was like, is
Like,
this
if-
dude?
If Joe
before he
Biden
lost
had
his
an
mind.
R in front of his name, if Joe Biden had an R in
Oh.
front of his name, he would be fucking mainstream headline news for some of the shit that he's said in the past, some of the things he continues to say.
Mhm.
I did like, this was maybe my favorite fact check. Biden, I may be a white boy, but I'm not stupid. Fact check, misleading. He is white, but he is also stupid. That is very, very true. But this man just cannot stop. We should even, this had nothing to do with being white. I really don't know what Joe Biden was trying to say here, but we might as well show this too while speaking to some nurses here in America.
Bro,
Joe
this
Biden,
is
whenever
awful.
he
This is
turns
awful.
sideways like this, you know it's about to be bad because he's going
Ooh.
off script.
This is
Yeah.
really bad.
Tell me, Suresh, what you think he's saying.
By the way, you docs are good. If there's any angels in heaven, they're all nurses, male and female. You know why? You guys make us, allow us to live. Nurses make you want to live.
What did he? What did he say?
I think he had a stroke, but let's listen again.
By the way, you docs are good. If there's any angels in heaven, they're all nurses, male and female. You know why?
What I think he said. Well, this is, by the way, you docs are good as if Descent is in emotions.
I got a better one for that same segment. I got
God.
a better one. Listen to this one, okay? Listen to this one.
And I had a nurse named Pearl Nelson in the military. She'd come in and do things that I don't think you learn in medical school, nursing school. She'd whisper in my ear. I couldn't understand her. She'd whisper, she'd lean down. She'd actually breathe on me to make sure that there was a connection, a human connection. She even went home and brought back her pillow from her own bed because she knew the one I had the one comfortable. But I'm not joking.
Oh my God. What in the world?
We're gonna listen
What?
to it one more time so you can.
This guy might be more brain dead than John Fetterman.
This is so bad. Okay, here we go. Here we go. One more time, and I do have the full quote. Holy shit! This is the full quote. So I had a nurse named Pearl. She'd come in and do things I don't think you learn in nursing school. She'd whisper in my ear. She'd lean down and breathe on me. She went home and got the pillow from her own bed. I'm not joking. So let's listen to this one more time.
What in the
And I had a
world?
nurse named Pearl Nelson in the military. She'd come in and do things that I don't think you learn in medical school, nursing school. She'd whisper in my ear. I couldn't understand her. She'd whisper, she'd lean down. She'd actually breathe on me to make sure that there was a connection, a human connection. She even went home and brought back her pillow from her own bed because she knew the one I had the one comfortable.
I don't want nobody's fucking pillow from your house. What the fuck?
This is disturbing.
Holy
This is
shit.
disturbing. Like, you know,
This is
and
Joe Biden.
you know what really pisses me off, guys, is when people try to claim that this is all rooted in this lifelong childhood stutter that Joe Biden suffers from. And I'm like, you can watch fucking videos of Joe Biden from just like 5 or 10 years ago where he shows no stutter. There's no mumbling. There's no running on. There's none of this. So how does someone develop a stutter in their 70s and they're now saying, oh, it's a stutter. It's rude and ableist to talk about him and, even point these things out because it's a childhood stutter. Like, there's videos of him from just a few years ago where he has no stutter at all. I've never seen him in a video prior to this part of his life where he had a stutter and he like mumbled and rumbled words like this. I've never seen one. So that's like when people are like, oh, this is his stutter. I'm like, no, this is dementia. This is sad.
Yeah, like this guy in 2006, 2008, 2010. There was a reason that he became the vice presidential candidate, right? It was because Barack Obama was very inexperienced relatively for a politician. They wanted somebody who had been there. They wanted somebody who you could, put in front and be funny and jovial and all that stuff. And that was Joe Biden. And even though I despise Joe Biden, I think he's an idiot. And he had some gaffes every once in a while, certainly even back then. It was from like how open he was like trying to be and like joking around with people. Now he can barely function as a human. Like he's slurring words. He actually sounds like he's having strokes.
Yeah.
Like I think he's actually had strokes in his time in the White House.
The video I shared has a fact check on it, ladies and gentlemen, so it gets even better. So
the fact check is he made up the story.
There's a lot of confusion in the responses to this tweet as to whether it's a deep fake or doctored.
Oh my
This is, in
gosh.
fact, unedited, legitimate footage of a Joe Biden speech, which took place on 2/28/23.
Oh wow.
Holy shit.
Confirming the painful truth.
God.
Oh God, this is so
A hell of a
bad.
stutter.
Wow.
This is so
Um,
bad. And you know what? There's no one. They're not talking about anyone running in 24 other than Joe Biden. They're not talking about anyone. It's like, to me, it's terrifying.
Suresh, you're a pretty smart guy, okay? So this is a pretty tough question I'm going to ask you. In any scenario, when, say, I don't know, milk has been left out for a few days and spoiled, has it ever improved from that point?
Well,
Joe Biden ain't getting better, bro. He's not going to improve. It's only going to get worse from here. He's not going to suddenly start improving. He's fucked. It's bad. And you're saying that this guy is supposed to be the president for the next 4 years starting in 2024. He's not getting better. He is spoiled milk. It's old. It's done. It's not getting better. It's only getting worse. And these fucking freaks are going to vote for him because they hate Donald Trump. Holy shit.
yeah, and it's going to happen whether or not Trump runs, at all. We know that. We all know what's going to happen. He's going to run. He's going to be absent. No one's going to see him. It's going to be another campaign from the basement. He will have almost no speaking engagements publicly. They will, and I say this, and it pains me to say this, but they're going to do the full-blown weekend at Bernie's with him, and they are going to push him into a second term. And we all know, as Karine Jean-Pierre said the other day, she actually said, when speaking about something that Biden allegedly did, and she said, President Obama. So we all know. Right? Like, how in the world would she say President Obama? The guy was president 2 presidents ago. So you're speaking on a stage in 2023 and you say, and President Obama just signed, and you're like, oh, she's like, oh, clearly he's still in the picture. Anyone who thinks he isn't is like completely brain dead. And that's what they're going to do. They're just going to prop him up and push him through, probably pump him full of meds. And it's going to be the shit show that we're seeing now. It's just going to be that, but worse. But we were going to be seeing a lot less of him. That's my belief, only because based on what I know about biochemistry, what I know about physiology, this is not going to end well, and that's what they have no choice.
What a disaster!
I can't wait for 2024.
Ukraine is the distraction, though.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's going to work for them. I don't think going to war with Ukraine is going to work out well for Joe Biden and the Democrats. I don't know.
I mean, I'm not saying well, but I'm saying that's essentially that's what they're hoping for. That's going to be their distraction for 2024 because they're going to have something. Because look,
COVID ain't going to work anymore,
bro. Trump and DeSantis are going to have all the attention. They're going to take all the attention. And that's going to put a bigger spotlight on both of those men for their messages. And so by the time it gets to whoever does ultimately win that nomination, that person's going to be rolling with so much momentum. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, and again, just
maybe they replaced Kamala with Big Mike as the running mate, and then Joe Biden dies and Michelle Obama becomes president. Maybe that's the plan. Hayden for $5. Can you guys touch on the Woody Harrelson monologue from SNL? Yeah, I think me and Jeremy both made videos about that. It was pretty funny for Woody Harrelson to put that out there. I don't know how much SNL was involved with it. Woody Harrelson put out a video on his own YouTube channel that he then privated. So I wish I could say more about it. I wish I could get my hands on that video to hear him talk, because apparently it was really good. And he was basically just saying fuck the haters for the backlash he was getting. But I mean, I wish we would have heard this 2 years ago, but it's good to hear people in Hollywood on a stage like that call out this shit.
Yeah, no, it was really good. I mean, I did a video on it, and it was, you can only imagine what the level, like we saw somebody like our friend, like Chris Gore just tweet out something, make Marvel male again, and it got him all this hate because he's tied to a lot of people in the industry. So you can see someone like Woody Harrelson, who's been in Hollywood for years. I'm sure he's gotten an enormous amount of backlash in his inner circle. You know what I mean? Enormous, because that. I loved it. It was a great opening monologue, and there was a lot of truth in that.
Yeah. G-Man for 5. My favorite was when he said the Latino community is very diverse, unlike the African American community.
Joe Biden
that was a good one.
Bert,
like
stop with the elderly abuse against Jim Crow Joe. I refuse. Mark Hendricks, okay, just turned you guys on. First thing I heard was him saying Pearl used to breathe on me. When did this happen? Who fucking knows? I imagine he sees a lot of nurses these days.
I have the animated version of this Hairy Legs skit. It's 25 seconds long.
This is a good one.
This is great.
And by the way, I got hairy legs that turn turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach into the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. They looked at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
What the fuck, dude? That was 3 years ago? 4 years ago?
That was when he was running. Black kids roaches? I don't know.
I don't know where that came into the story, but yes, he did say I learned about roaches.
That's highly uncomfortable.
The charitable way to think about that is maybe he was just telling a story about the public pool and that there were roaches at the public pool because he's poor, just like the black people. That's the charitable way to look at what Joe Biden said.
Well,
it's literally like there's no editing to it whatsoever. Like, this is the original right here. Like, this is him.
When I was in law school, proudly for Holloway, proud state senator in the state. And by the way, I sit on the stand and it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. They look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
Jesus.
Listen.
Christ. Holy fuck, man.
Oh my God. Listen.
Holy shit.
I haven't seen that one in a little bit, but some of the faces on the little girls standing around them were like, what the fuck is happening? There were some black moms in that crowd that were like slowly pulling their kids away from him. Listen, in the last year, Joe Biden has publicly said that he grew up in a Puerto Rican community. He grew up as part of in Jewish synagogue. He grew up in the black church. And there was one other.
He just said he grew up around Polish people, the Polish and Italian people, and he was upset that his name didn't end in a ski.
Oh
yeah. So he's grown up in so many of these different neighborhoods with these different people from different backgrounds, and sadly very very poor. You want to know that now with his 4 multi-million-dollar estates that he owns, having 50 plus years in politics, which we don't know how that is. But he also said that his wife works full time, by the way. He said that a few days ago, and no one really caught it. But in a speech, he said his wife works full time as an educator, meaning she has a full time job. No one knows what that full time job is, but apparently she works full time as an educator.
I'm sure she's getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars from some college to be a fucking a professor or something, an adjunct professor that doesn't do shit. Probably what it is. That's full time to Joe Biden. Link fan for $25. Thank you. Just out of curiosity, how's that Build Back Better going? Because I'm not seeing it. Yeah,
I heard that.
Not going very well. Thank you, Link fan, for the 25 over on StreamYard or Streamlabs. Conspiracy theory, bro, for 3. That sounds like Scott Adams' version of Chris Rock's legendary routine: ninjas versus black people. I love that one. That's a perfect one.
Yep.
It sounds like it. It sounds like it. Biggles Mets for 2. I can't tell the difference between Joe and Jeremy. Jeremy has curlier hair.
That's right.
Muggsykins for 5. I just think it's all BS now. Now celebrities are speaking up since it's safe to do so. These celebrities are doing it for clout. Fuck them all.
Cowards.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough to tell who was in on the whole thing and who got sucked up in it, who got fooled, who got tricked. But yeah, it would have been nice to hear some of the stuff 2 years ago. Mav Dick for 2. Please watch Freedom Tunes Corn Pop story.
Freedom Tunes is great.
Knowing Freedom Tunes, it's short, so I can probably do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to talk about COVID real quick, and then we got to be done.
The Wuhan lab.
Oh, yes.
You couldn't talk about that a couple years ago.
Oh, now everyone's talking about it. It's like the thing to talk about now.
Yeah, it's so interesting how so many people are speaking out against things that we got banned for 2 years ago.
All right, here we go. Aside from the music, the following audio of Joe Biden is entirely unedited.
I learned a lot. And I learned that it makes a difference. This was the diving board area, and I was one of the guards, and they weren't allowed to. There was a 3-meter board. If you fell off sideways, you landed on the darn cement over there. And Corn Pop was a bad dude, and he ran a bunch of bad boards. Back in those days, you sure how things have changed. One of the things you had to use, if you used pomade in your hair, you had to wear a bathing cap. And so he was up on the board, wouldn't listen to me. I said, "Hey, Esther, you, off the board, or I'll come up and drag you off." Well, he came off, and he said, "I'll meet you outside." My car, these were all public housing behind it. My car, there was a gate out here. I parked my car outside the gate. And he said, "I'll be waiting for you." He was waiting for 3 guys in straight razors. Not a joke. There's a guy named Bill Wright, Mouse, the only white guy, and he did all the pools. He was the mechanic. And I said, "What am I going to do?" He said, "Come down here in the basement where all the pool filter is. You know the chain? There used to be a chain that went across the deep end. And he cut off a 6-foot length of chain. He folded up. He said, "You walk out with that chain. And you walk to the car and say, 'You may cut me, man, but I'm going to wrap this chain around your head.'" I said, "You kidding me?" He said, "No, if you don't come back." And he was right. So I walked out with the chain. And I walked up to my car. And those days, used to remember the straight razor. You'd bang them on the curb, get them rusty, put them in a rain barrel, get them rusty.
Jesus Christ.
I looked at him.
Why are you talking like this in front of children?
First of all, I said, when I tell you get off the board, you get off the board, and I'll kick you out again. But I shouldn't have called you, Esther Williams. I apologize for that. I apologize. But I didn't know that apology was going to work. He said, "You apologize to me?" I said, "I apologize for that. Not for throwing you out, but I apologize for what I said." He said, "Okay." He closed the straight razor, and my heart began to beat again. I came down here because I remember the first bumper sticker I saw.
Oh, you have to send me that link immediately.
Holy shit.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
That man is the leader of the free world.
Wow. Oh, I don't even know what to say.
He sounds a lot more coherent there than he does now.
Yeah.
Although that was a crazy story that really didn't happen, but wow, that was rough.
Dude, it's so fucking
he
weird,
said that they were
man.
getting. First of all, I love how it changed from like the Kellogg cereal characters as the band with Corn Pop
The Keebler Elves,
Snap, Crackle, and Pop.
Snap, Crackle, and Pop. Yeah, that was it.
And the pool mechanic went from black to white.
Bill Wright Mouse. Yeah. Why did he tell that story? I don't know.
I have no idea. It was so uncomfortable. I was uncomfortable.
Shit.
I wasn't even there.
Good Lord.
Oh
we do have to talk about this lab leak.
Ron, you need some mods. Ron, you need mods in this chat.
Okay, let me see. Oh shit.
Oh yeah, we need a mod. Yeah.
All right.
Got him.
Got it. All right.
All right. So we do have to talk about where the fuck did it go? We got to talk about this. You guys remember when Donald Trump, claimed that the origin of the COVID virus was likely from a lab leak in Wuhan, China. And when he said that, it was racist. You weren't allowed to say anything like that. It was a conspiracy theory. If you talked about a lab link, or a lab leak in China right next to where this happened, it was basically named the same thing that COVID was named. Well, now here we are, 3 years after the fact? FBI director. For quite some time, we've determined that a lab incident is the most likely origin of COVID. Who would have thought? Conspiracy theories yesterday turned into the truth today. We've all been saying this for a long time. Everybody had been saying it for a long time, but you weren't allowed to. And if you talked about it, you got labeled something. You got labeled a racist because you can't say that. You got labeled a conspiracy theorist, a right-wing extremist. And now here we are 3 years later, and everyone is admitting finally that that's actually what happened.
Yep. I'm sharing it right now. So this is Trump right here. Here's Trump in the spring of 2020 saying COVID came from a Wuhan lab. The media ripped him to shreds for this, yet he was right again.
And my question is, have you seen anything at this point that gives you a high degree of confidence that the Wuhan Institute of Virology was the origin of this virus?
Yes, I have. And I think that the World Health Organization should be ashamed of themselves because they're like the public relations agency for China. And this country pays them almost $500 million a year, and China pays them $38 million a year. And whether it's a lot or more, it doesn't matter. It's still, they shouldn't be making excuses when people make horrible mistakes, especially mistakes that are causing hundreds of thousands of people around the world to die.
So there's Trump being right again, as usual. And, 2 years ago, that was a conspiracy theory, as Ryan said. 2 years ago, that will get you banned from social media. 2 years ago, you were not allowed to question any of that. You would have your channels taken down. You would be banned from social media. Your livelihood would be impacted. Your family would be shamed, all for saying what now is relatively widely known as the truth, but you couldn't say that back then. So it's more of the same old nonsense. Joe Biden can get up there and smell children and no one's outraged. Donald Trump can get up there and speak the truth as the fucking president of the United States, but he wasn't allowed to say that, and you weren't allowed to talk about it. It's amazing.
Like, what's more likely that, a mile away from this lab where they were funding gain of function research, all these things were happening, that maybe it's a leak from that lab? Or is it more likely that a random fucking bat flew into someone's asshole and then ended up in soup that someone ate like a mile away from there? I think we all understood from the beginning what was more likely, yet you weren't allowed to say it.
Mm-hmm. And that's why no one has faith in the media. Go ahead, Suresh.
But it's funny how they tried to tell us that this mammalian bat or bat species was at a wet market. And that's what we heard a lot, right? The bat in the wet market. Well, if I've been to China and I have business associates there, the wet market is a seafood market. They don't sell furry little mammals in the wet market. So they tried to spin it, and they realized that people in America were never going to put two and two together. Like, we don't know. It's just a couple of miles away. Now, there are some people, there's a doctor who worked for the Chinese military who said that it was released on purpose, but we don't know. We can't verify that. And I don't even know if she's still alive or still around. But what we do know is that the lab that now we know it came from, it's out there now, was working on this strain to make it more powerful. And we now know, and I don't think anything's going to happen, we now know that Dr. Fauci lied. He lied to Congress. He lied outright. There's now emails and documentation proving that U.S. taxpayers were funding gain of function research, and he was behind it. He not only knew about it, he was the one spearheading it, and he lied outright. Is anything going to happen to him? What do you guys think? Is anything going to happen to this guy?
Nope.
I don't think so.
Nope.
Yeah.
He's still going to be the hero of the left and the hero of the mainstream. And essentially what'll happen is if the pressure gets too much, he'll just kind of go away, just like anything else, just like the Juicy Smollett, story, how he was hyped up as this, victim, and it was the worst thing ever. And then that was like national attention on every fucking news network, including ESPN. And then as soon as it was proven that he was just a lying piece of shit, they just kind of they just let it go away. They don't actually hold themselves or the person accountable. They just build up these fake lying pieces of trash for a significant amount of time, as long as they can get away with it. So essentially what will happen with Fauci is that Fauci will just he will just slowly go away. They just won't talk about him anymore. As the pressure continues to rise up, they won't call him out. They won't hold him accountable, and they won't hold themselves accountable. That's what'll happen.
Yeah, and I see a couple of super chats here. Mav Dick for $2 says COVID-19 was 100% released to topple Trump and MAGA. Yeah, it's tough to know. Like, I don't put it past China to kill a bunch of their own citizens, like to do something that they want geopolitically. But I don't know if they would have taken the actions they taken if they wanted it, if they wanted that to happen. Maybe it's somebody else that wasn't specifically China that you're saying is involved. Maybe, potentially. Mavdick for 2. Every strike Krigler got for COVID-19 was proven right. Yeah, every strike anyone got for COVID-19 was pretty much proven right.
Yep.
Like ever. Hayden for $5. I haven't noticed, but has anyone checked in with Nancy Pelosi after Tucker got 41,000 hours of footage? Is she panicking yet? The expression on her face hasn't changed a bit somehow. So
what is going on with that? Is he putting that out there now?
I imagine that Tucker is probably going to put an entire remember like the Kyle Rittenhouse little documentary thing? I think it's going to be something like that. It's going to be like a high produced thing. That's my guess is what they're going to do. So, before movies suck for 5. Okay, I'm recommending this one. Freedom Tunes Scrabble with Joe Biden. Not sure if you can play it here, but you got to check it out. We will check that one out next time. Scrabble with Joe Biden. I don't know if there's enough consonants in the world for Joe Biden to play Scrabble. You might run out, but yes. Hayden for $5. COVID-19 first seems to have showed up in the population during the 2019 military games in China. People came back to the U.S. and had similar symptoms. It was November, December of 2019 was like that time frame, which is why once it really started becoming an issue, it was already spread everywhere. Like it was already everywhere. There was no good that shutting things down really did. But I remember I remember watching stuff in December and watching reports out of China and me being freaked out about COVID. Because it was like, hey, the morgues are overflowing, blah, blah, blah. They're locking people in their fucking apartments. They're killing people. They're killing animals to prevent the spread. And I was like, this could be really fucking bad. I went out before everybody freaked out. I went out and I got food. I got water. I got masks. I got all that shit before the freak out. And then it actually really got here. And I was like, this ain't shit. This is the fucking flu. This is what we saw coming out of, this is the global panic.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I called Ryan a couple times. He had 7 masks on.
That's not true. I
I'm fucking with you.
Yeah.
I know. I'm fucking with you.
Yeah. Because I thought it was going to be bad because I was seeing a lot of the leaked footage out of China, and it turned out to not be shit.
Ryan did enjoy the masks, though. I don't know if he wants to say why.
I did, yeah. Well, I was still in the military.
And
the masks were mandated, so I grew my fucking beard out while I was still in the military. And because these stupid regulations, these stupid fucking regulations on military bases that you had to be fully fucking masked. All right, perfect. I'll have my little pull up mask and I'm gonna wear my fucking beard. I'm gonna grow a big ass beard while I'm in the military because fuck you guys. That's what I did.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, so I did like the masking, to be honest with you. That was fun. And that, ladies and gentlemen, brings us to the end of the stream today. Jeremy, what do we got going on Geeks and Gamers wise?
Fortnite tonight on the main channel, and then Cobra Cast afterwards on D-Day Cobra. So looking forward to that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Probably going to regurgitate a lot of the topics that we had here today, but we'll add some more to it as well. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm loving the Cobra Cast stuff, and Fortnite as well. Played Fortnite again last night after fucking main event, so kind of tired, kind of up late. But main event was another banger last night. That show has really leveled up in the past month. And again, as I told you guys, like I feel like we're like obviously, you know, I was part of Friday Night Tights from when it started, and I saw how that show grew. I feel like main event is kind of on that same path. I think the only thing we're lacking on the main event side is just we need to get like on Friday Night Tights, we have like a really nice rotation of guests like Critical Drinker and Mauler and other people. Like we run Tuesday night's main event so late, but like Suresh was on there last week, and I thought Suresh was great. Everybody wanted you back, Suresh. So may have to have Suresh as part of the rotation. So it was really good. It was really good. So I'll see you guys tonight though for Fortnite and for Cobra Cast.
Mav Dick for 2. Ryan, I was gaslit by the media too, my honky. I wouldn't even say like it wasn't the media. It was the leaked stuff that nobody was talking about out of China.
Yeah.
It was the stuff that they weren't airing because the media hadn't fucking caught up on it. It was these things that they were being very careful. Like I was watching Mr. Mediker stream, like a New Year's stream, late December, playing some of the shit that had been leaked out of China. That's what I was scared of. And then it wasn't until it got here that the media started freaking out about it when Trump was trying to be like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. That's when it really was, oh, it's really not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
So, Suresh, what do you got going on?
Oh, just trying to keep up with you guys, man. I'm putting out like 1/10 the content that you guys are putting out over at Situation with Suresh. I'm really like embarrassed and ashamed about it. But it's been a crazy week, a crazy couple of weeks with 221B Tactical. We got a lot going on with the stuff coming out for spring, and we're working on things already for fall and winter, believe it or not now. So we got some new developments. So that's taken a lot of my time, but enjoying growing the Situation with Suresh, and TikTok has been killing it. Although
you've been
TikTok
crushing it.
doesn't really like do anything for me. It's just a way to grow the YouTube channel. So I'm over there at just enjoying developing new stuff and growing the 221B Tactical. Let me say the platform over there. We got a great social media team, you know, growing all our different platforms. So that's been really cool, and working with them was a lot of fun. And working with you guys, man, let me tell you that the Tuesday night was awesome. I haven't laughed that hard in a long time, and I know it went really late. I think we're like, I don't know how late it was, but it was super late, but it was super fun. I can't wait to do it again.
Well, we are talking about bumping that show up a little bit, getting it started a little bit earlier. We'll keep you guys posted about that. But that discussion is going on, and yeah, it was fun. And shout out to the whole crew over there. General Duality says, was there a Cobra Cast last night? No, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That's when it is. Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
A proud American for 5. Our government said COVID came from a bat, and that was a lie. Our government said AIDS came from a monkey. Was that a lie too?
Yes.
I would personally like to think that both of them came from Fauci. That's my personal belief, since he was involved in both of the supposed vaccines. So that's what I do believe. Let me refresh this one more time. And we are, if it ever actually fucking goes through, motherfucker. Here we go. All right. We are all good. Thank you guys for hanging out. Next week, next Wednesday, we're probably just going to move this permanently to 1 p.m. Eastern. I think that works a little bit better for Suresh. So next week, we'll be over on D-Day Cobra. We'll see you guys there. And next time it's on this channel, I'll have memberships activated. So
there you go.
That's a guarantee. And I will talk to y'all later.